Eighth inning, wartime heroes, World War II, and the Negro League All-Star Game. If you were anybody, you were at the East-West game. Buck O'Neil. When the United States entered the Second World War in 1941, many of the Negro League teams lost players to the draft. Some of the ball players who went into the military played baseball in the service. And after the war, some players from the military baseball teams, like Bullet Rogan and Jackie Robinson, went on to play in the Negro Leagues. Like everything else back then, the military was segregated. The companies, the barracks, the commissary, and baseball. If a ball player was good enough, he might not have to see a day of combat. He could play baseball for the military in the Special Services, which was a group of teams that went around entertaining the troops playing baseball exhibition games. Boxing champ Joe Louis was in the Special Services too, except he boxed exhibition matches. But you know something? A lot of Negroes wouldn't see any action anyway. The Army was funny about Negroes in the service. They wouldn't send Negroes to fight Germans during the war. They'd send white soldiers to fight before they would send any of us. If Negroes did go, they were only allowed to do work like cooking and cleaning or unloading and bringing the white troops ammunition, which might not seem like much, but could really be quite dangerous. Imagine unloading ammunition from a ship and accidentally dropping it on a ship full of ammunition. They had to be very careful. Isn't that something? We really wanted to fight for our country. A few guys saw combat and did well, but most didn't. Truth is, the military probably did us a favor. If all we had to do in the service was play baseball or do something that kept us from going into combat, it was okay because it meant we would see our loved ones again. And here's a painting from opening day, Kansas City, Missouri, circa 1944. And then here is standing in the back is Buck Leonard, Willie Wells, Ruby Fernandez, Sammy Hughes, George Scales, Mule Suttles, Pat Patterson, Josh Gibson, Bill Wright, Roy Partlow. And then kneeling is Bill Byrd, Leon Day, Bill Holland, Condo Lopez, George Curry, and Red Parnell. And this is the East Negro League All-Star, the East-West Classic in 1939 in Comiskey Park, Chicago, Illinois. Towards the end of the war, when players started to come back, crowds got bigger and bigger. Black folks would come by the thousands for a Negro League baseball game. Before and after the game, there would be lively music and food, and in the bigger cities, they would have beauty or swimsuit contests or ladies' night. And on opening days, the ballpark would be filled to the gills. A black entertainer or the mayor would throw out the first pitch. Many times, Negro League teams would outdraw the local major league teams. The Homestead Grays would have 30,000 people in the stands for a Sunday game, when the Washington Senators had only 25,000. Although several of our teams lost players to the draft, Negro baseball was still good business, and with the help of night baseball, the league thrived during World War II. Players' salaries grew, and the Saturday Evening Post even did a big story on Satchel Paige. After that, anywhere he pitched, there was a huge crowd. He'd only have to pitch a few innings, and then someone else, usually Hilton Smith, a great pitcher in his own right, would finish the game. The biggest crowds would be found every August in Chicago's Comiskey Park at the East-West Classic, the Negro League's All-Star Game. It was founded by Pittsburgh Crawford's owner Gus Greenlee in 1933, the same year the Major League had their first All-Star Game. Managers and owners elected players for the All-Star teams, and fans voted for them in the black newspapers, the Pittsburgh Courier, the Kansas City Call, the Baltimore Afro-American, and the Chicago Defender. There was nothing more glorious than the East-West game. People came from as far as Louisiana and Mississippi and Tennessee to see it. The railroad had to add extra cars to the trains just to make room for all those folks traveling to the game. A couple of times we had more than 50,000 people crammed into that ballpark. We had to turn people away. The East West game would even outdraw the Major League All Star game. Look in the crowd, and there in the front row was Bill Bojangles Robinson, Joe and Marva Lewis, Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, or Lena Horne. It became more than just a game. It was a high class affair. People who didn't know anything about baseball came to the ballpark in their Sunday best just to be seen at the East West game. You hear black and white. We had some great games too. The score was usually close. Can you imagine Satchel Paige, Chet Brewer, Buck Leonard, Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, and Mule Suttles all on the same team? The best in Negro baseball. All of them down there, ready to give the people a show. If the owners didn't do well during the season, they could make it up at the East West game. The players only got about $50 each, and the rest, after expenses, went to the owners' pockets. They made out like bandits. Satch and Josh later negotiated their own fee, and soon the players band together and demanded more money. And they got it. And I'll tell you something. It wasn't until the Major League owners saw all of those fans at the East West game that they started thinking a little more seriously about integrating baseball. The almighty dollar has a way of changing folks' minds.